5 steps to heal from emotional abuse and move beyond blame to reclaim your personal power. Emotional abuse is the intentional devaluing of one person by another in order to elevate themselves. Emotional abuse and its negative messages are false, keeping you from finding and understanding the truth of who you are. The message of emotional abuse is often, you never do anything right. The reverberations of this message can cause you to set the bar too high on what counts as progress in recovering from the effects of emotional abuse. I'm talking about this now because I do lots of things about narcissism and lots of negative stuff, but we won't do anything about healing. So what we're going to do now is talking about healing. And healing isn't a task you have to be perfect at, nor a race that you has to be won and there's a finishing line. Emotional injuries can be much like physical injuries. They take time to heal. With this in mind, here are 5 steps to begin healing from emotional abuse. Number 1, moving beyond blame when the truth of emotional abuse finally comes out. It hurts. And when we hurt, we search for the reasons and we look for someone to blame. When people were emotionally abused by someone who meant better than what they did, they tried less than what they should or choose not to know better. Sometimes an emotionally abusive pattern is perpetrated because those are the behaviours the abuser knows. Other times it occurs because the abuser is simply weak. They know they should act and speak differently, but they don't have the strength or courage or motivation to do so. When you are in a relationship with these types of people, you desperately want them to overcome their weaknesses so they can love you like they should, but they don't, and that hurts. When we are in pain, we seek to know why, what and who is responsible. I've found when a person who has suffered emotional abuse works through the temptation to blame him or herself, the next step is to train is the abuser. Understanding why, what and who is responsible for the emotional abuse is a valuable destination to get to. Staying stuck in blame is not a safe place to be. Blame doesn't stick. These situations leave the person who is recovering from emotional abuse unsatisfied and empty. Instead of seeking blame, I encourage people to seek understanding. If your abuser acted out of faulty parenting patterns, you can come to understand such lackluster awareness. If your abuser was tired, overwhelmed, stressed, distracted, or moody, then you can understand their weakness. Understanding can shift the cause of the emotional abuse away from you and onto the other person without leaving you stuck in the toxic pool of blame. Blame continues to fan the fires of anger, bitterness, and resentment. But too often, there's always one burned. Now you've got to understand, we can provide you with a protective barrier of insight, but people are going to get hurt. That's going to happen. You need to get over that. Number 2, granting forgiveness. An emotional abuser often tries to crush your spirit so you will be more compliant and easier to control. Once that control is established, it's difficult to loosen the grip. So often people think that forgiveness is the gift that you keep giving, only to the person who did wrong. But forgiveness is also the gift to the person who was wronged. When you say, I forgive you, what you are saying is, I acknowledge you wronged me and need forgiveness. I choose to forgive you, and by doing so, I take back control over my part of the relationship. When you fail to grant forgiveness, you chain yourself to that act of pattern of pain. You allow that pain to continue to hurt you I've known people to spend decades of their lives angry and bitter over wrongs done to them in the past. My ex-wife still does it to me. In many cases, the person who is intentionally or even inadvertently hurt them has moved on with their lives, and the only one still stuck in playing the victim and being the victim is there. Forgiving someone doesn't mean forgetting what that does, what that person did. Forgiveness does, it shows your willingness to try and create a possibility of a fresh start. Number 3, reclaiming your personal power. Emotional abuse is a practice designed to convince you with words, actions, and ideas that you are powerless and without rights. This is a lie. You have both rights and power. You have the right not to be emotionally abused. You have the power to say no if someone threatens to hurt you. You have the right to get on with your life, free from abusive relationships. You have the power to forgive those who hurt you. If you have suffered from emotional abuse, you may doubt your ability to make good decisions. Claiming your personal power means learning to love and trust yourself again. Reclaiming your personal power, however, isn't just finding a way to say yes to the things you really want. It's also about finding a way to say no to the things other people really want from you or for you to do for them, even if those things are good. Many emotional abusers will try to force you into a black and white world of stark decisions where their opinion is great and yours is horrible. A great many occasions in life aren't between the great and the horribles. They lie somewhere in between. Don't fall for that trap. Ultimately, you are responsible for your own choices and your own actions. 4, avoiding conflicts. Being in a relationship with an emotionally abusive person means you are constantly engaged in a battle of wills at some level. These battles invariably involve conflict. For the most severely abusive people, the only way to avoid conflict may be to exit the relationship completely. Emotionally abusive people are toxic. They poison relationships with their need for control, their negativity, and their lack of respect. Limiting contact can reduce your toxic exposure. Often, the relationships that cause the most tension are in the family, parent to child, or child to parent, sibling to sibling. What do you do when contact happens at events like family gatherings, weddings, birthdays, and holidays? I suggest that you designate a trusted individual to act as an emotional buffer. An emotional buffer is someone who understands the dynamics of the relationship and agrees to step in to offer support in certain circumstances. Another way to shield yourself from potential conflicts is by calling on the phone, sending cards, or meeting in public places. Being intentional about reducing conflicts it's not capitulating or giving in. Rather, it's proactively managing the relationship and protecting your boundaries effectively. In this way, you show love and affection to the other person without sacrificing yourself. Number 5, addressing hurts when dealing with an offence. Keep the offence in the present, not in the past. A harsh comment by a co-worker today is not a validation of harsh comments experienced in your past. That co-worker doesn't know about your past, and it's not intentionally trying to add to it. Maybe he had a bad day, or maybe she's worried about something that has nothing to do with you. Learn to separate what is happening now from what's happened then. A few of these points will help you here. Resist reacting with hostility. If someone does or says something that hurts you, explain how you feel, how you felt. Reacting with hostility not only escalates the conflict, but can compromise your ability to remain in control of yourself. Speaking from experience. Give up the need to be right. You may view something they did not as hurtful, but they may not. When differences of opinion arise, recognise that the most, it may be just okay to, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to not have the same opinion. Take responsibility. Own your shit for yourself. You oversee your own thoughts and actions. Avoid the temptation of blaming others for making you do something. Part of reclaiming your personal power is understanding that it includes the power to make your own decisions, even your own mistakes. Respond instead of reacting. Reactions tend to be more immediate and on autopilot. Emotional abuse may have made your autopilot extremely sensitive. If you feel yourself immediately reacting, slow down and take a deep breath, breathe. Think before you act. That is the essence of any response. Try to build a bridge, not burn one. Even though you may be hurt or dismayed by what the person said or did, you can still respond to that person, at least in a polite manner. Be open to the possibility of a misunderstanding and seek to clarify their intent. Recognize the difference between the target and the source. Some people, when they are angry, spread the anger out to everyone and everything they can find. You may be the target of that anger, but you are not the source. Be alert so that you don't accept false guilt from others. Also, know your limits. You have a right to set personal boundaries and to limit what you will accept from others. You have the right to communicate those boundaries, and you have the right to expect them to be respected. Retain your personal happiness. If someone hurts you, that doesn't mean you must give over all of your personal happiness. If that hurt was unintentional, you can use this as a reminder, and that people make mistakes, including yourself. If the hurt was intentional, you can limit the future dealings with this person. Either way, don't hang on to it. Let it go. Love and find joy. Love and find joy in who you are. Live in peace with yourself. Exercise restraint and give yourself the gift of self-control. When you can treat yourself this way, you will be able to recognize these traits in others. You will be able to give others the same gifts you give to yourself. Gift it to yourself. It's a gift from me to you, to you, to you.